I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you all for being present at our 2015 Annual General Meeting. Before proceeding, I'd like to acknowledge the Tasmanian Aboriginal community as the traditional custodians of the land on which we're meeting, and pay respects to Elders past and present. I'd also like to remind everyone here that the meeting is being recorded audio-visually and will be available on the Council website later on this week. So I formally declare the meeting open, and I'd just like to introduce the Aldermen. Apart from myself, we have the Deputy Mayor, Alderman Jock Campbell, Alderman Sharon Von Berto, Alderman John Peers, Alderman Doug Doust, Alderman Peter Cusick, Alderman Heather Chong, Alderman Kay McFarlane, Alderman Deborah Thurley, Alderman James Walker, and Alderman Richard James. Pardon me. Alderman Hume is an apology for tonight. The meeting procedures for the Annual General Meeting are actually circulated and included in the packages which are available for members of the public, and certainly the Aldermen are familiar with those. Item 5 is confirmation of minutes of the 2014 Annual General Meeting. Thank you, Alderman Peers. Thank you, Alderman Chong. I put the motion that we, as circulated, be taken as read and confirmed. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Item 6 is the annual report. With your permission, I shall read the annual report. It is with pleasure that I present the annual report for Clarence City Council for 2014-15. Council's had a very productive and successful year with a number of significant projects either commenced or having been completed. A particular focus has been the ongoing development of the Kangaroo Bay precinct. That project received a boost with a $5 million grant from the Australian Government. This enabled the acceleration of road and footpath infrastructure and utility services, including the Rosny Hill Road Bly Street junction upgrade and the realignment of Kangaroo Bay Drive, incorporating a landscaped boulevard. Work is virtually complete, with just the traffic lights for the Alma Street extension to Kangaroo Bay Drive to be commissioned. I was very pleased that Council was able to present investment opportunities for the Kangaroo Bay at the major TasInvest conference conducted by the Tasmanian Government late last year. This presentation highlighted the great potential for accommodation, tourism operations, cultural activities, residential apartments, retail, hospitality service and water transport operations. Council, jointly with the Tasmanian Government, in March 2015, commenced a request for proposals process, which invited developers to submit proposals for 2 development sites within the precinct. The outcome of this process should be known early next year. The expression of interest process seeking proposals for the development at the Rosny Hill Recreation Reserve also continued. Following extensive community consultation, Council awarded preferred developer status to Hunter Developments and has now consented to the lodgement of a development application. Council continued to implement its $16.4 million capital works program, with $9.6 million of that to be spent on road construction and rehabilitation works, $4.9 million on recreation and a further $1.1 million on stormwater upgrades. The condition of our roads and footpaths has been raised as an issue of concern in our community surveys, and it is important that Council maintains its effort to improve the condition for the benefit of both local residents and visitors to our city. The 7 Mile Beach Sport and Active Recreation Master Plan was developed and identified sport and recreational opportunities, facilities and management options for the site. This is a very important plan, as over recent years Council has experienced increased pressure from our community for additional sporting facilities. Council were also successful in negotiating with the state government to acquire almost 15 hectares of land at 74 Surf Road at 7 Mile Beach for the purposes of that sporting precinct. The estimated cost to develop all of that is identified in the master plan and is approximately $14 million. It is proposed to implement it over 10 financial years, subject to ongoing council budgetary approvals. Council was also very proud to open the new Simmons Park playground at Lindisfarne at an Access All Areas Family Fun Day in November 2014. Almost $2 million has been spent since 2012 on upgrades, and this is the first regional scaled play space to be developed in Clarence, and Council will build on this momentum in future playground and park developments. The issue of volunteer amalgamation with adjacent councils and resource sharing was formally raised by the state government in November 2014. Council agreed to participate in the process and adopted a series of strict principles and guidelines which will underpin the consideration of any amalgamation and or resource sharing exercise. The first of that is that the interests of the ratepayers and residents must come first. There will need to be extensive consultation with the community prior to any decisions being made in relation to this issue. Council's community events program proved very successful again this year, especially the Clarence Jazz Festival, Seafarers Festival and Australia Day on the Boardwalk. In addition to our regular events, a number of specific activities were held across the city to acknowledge the centenary of Anzac Day, and a very popular and well attended the centenary of Anzac, 100 years of service at home and abroad exhibition was held in the Rosny Barn. I was also pleased to note that Council was awarded the Local Government Award for 2014 for the Clarence Foreshore Trail at the Medibank Active Tasmania Awards. Clarence continues to develop a high quality trail network for a broad range of users, and Council and the community can be very proud of it. In the coming year, Council will continue to bring projects such as the Rosny Hill and Kangaroo Bay developments forward, while we face the challenges of state government-driven local government reform and planning reform. Continuing focus on the basics such as maintaining our roads and footpaths and stormwater infrastructure will be vitally important, while continuing to provide a high level of service for our residents will remain paramount. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank my fellow aldermen for their continued dedication and hard work throughout the year. I would particularly wish to acknowledge the work of former aldermen Peter Cooper, Don Cusick and Martin McManus, who all made important contributions to the council and our city over many years. I'd also like to thank our General Manager and staff for their support, for continuing to provide a high level of professional advice and also a high level of service to our community. I move that the Mayor's annual report be received. Could I have a seconder, please? Alderman Thurley. Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. Item 6 is the financial report. Mr. Barter.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I'd like to give a brief summary of financial results from the 2014 financial year, and I refer Aldermen and members of the public to page 45 of the annual report, which contains the financial statements. So, Council's financial performance for 2014-15 was sound and in keeping with the outcomes provided by Council's long-term financial management plan. Its operating result continued to improve, its balance sheet is strong, which reflects the strategies that Council has employed over the long term, as does its cash position and cash outcomes. Key issues of particular note are firstly land under roads. The full valuation of all land under roads was recommended by the Auditor General in the 13-14 financial year, and that recommendation has now been implemented. That's added $98 million to Council's balance sheet. As a one-off accounting entry, that's also added $98 million to Council's headline result for the year, leading to a reported surplus of $112 million. Other key effects on the financial statements include a payment in advance from the State Grants Commission for the 15-16 financial year of $1.3 million. That was received on the 30th of June 2015. A special grant that the Mayor alluded to in relation to the Kangaroo Bay development of $2.4 million has been recognised in the 14-15 accounts. Stormwater assets were revalued to the tune of $1.6 million, and other assets have been stable, and debt is basically immaterial. Cash increased by around $2 million, and that was primarily driven by the advance payment from the Grants Commission, as I mentioned. And cash payments for capital expenditure increased by $4.7 million, and that's consistent with much of the major development work which has been undertaken in the city during the year. I'd like to now turn to the financial and asset management indicators. Those are also contained within the annual report on page 81 and graphically on pages 16 and 17. They provide a very high-level summary of Council's finances. They were developed by the Auditor General and the Local Government Office. They're required by legislation and they're fully audited. The net financial liabilities continue to strengthen, and this ratio shows Council to be in an exceptionally strong position, certainly well above the Auditor General's benchmark, and it reflects a very low level of liabilities. The underlying surplus, which essentially strips out non-recurring items and non-cash items such as land under roads and special grants, continues to improve, and that's very much consistent with Council's long-term strategies. And this is an Alderman and members of the public will note this is a critical measure since it indicates Council's capacity to provide new and enhanced infrastructure to the city, and also to absorb any future financial challenges that may arise. Asset management indicators are all consistent with Council's asset management strategy and asset management plans. They're all at or near benchmark, with the exception perhaps of roads. However, this is very consistent with the assessed physical condition of the roads and Council's asset management plans, so it's not a surprise. The asset renewal funding ratio is above benchmark, and that's an important indicator because that recognises financial effort and capacity as opposed to physical effort on the ground. Mr Mayor, in terms of future issues, Council may consider an accelerated use of cash where appropriate if Council identifies any significant infrastructure projects that are a priority. And in terms of the audit outcome, the Auditor General issued a qualified audit opinion and raised no matters for attention. I'm happy to take questions through you.
If I could have someone move and second it, and then we'll open up the questions. Moved Alderman Campbell, seconded Alderman Chong. Are there any questions of the Corporate Treasurer? Alderman James.
There are two questions. First of all, Mr Barter, what's the balance of our unallocated cash, please?
Our balance of our unallocated cash at 30th of June is approximately $3 million.
Thank you. And secondly, given the improvements and that have occurred at the Bellerive Oval / Blunston Arena, has that been brought to account in the balance sheet at this time, or will that be done?
Through you, Mr Mayor, that's neither been brought to account nor will it be brought to account in Council's books. That's consistent with a decision by the Auditor General of about 2 or 3 years ago, where those assets are essentially the responsibility of Cricket Tasmania to both depreciate and to maintain, and therefore it's not appropriate to have them in Council's books. However, should at any point Cricket Tas exit that particular facility, then those assets can transfer to Council.
That the valuation that has been applied by or has been assessed by the Cricket Tasmania?
We through you, Mr Mayor, Council would undertake its own valuation of those assets that would have been down replacement costs.
Walker.
Just a couple of things. The first one's probably a bit of pedantry. Page 2, number of dwellings listed was a bit of a concern at 2,234. Puts about 24 people per household. Is there a nought that should be added to that? It's not part of your report, no, fair enough.
I think you may be correct.
This is probably getting closer to your report. Page 60, other expenses. We got there that rate remissions decreased in very crude figures by something like 1.8 million. Is that to do with the transition from AAV to capital value, and as this has gone on, the if you like, the smoothing process come closer to a conclusion?
That's exactly correct.
Yeah.
I reported last year there was quite a substantial remission. And yes, that's now quite considerably, and I think in the current financial year is virtually zero. It's about $40,000, something very small.
Page 87, Appendix E, Statements of Grants and Benefits. Is that your part of the world, or should we be going to someone else?
Okay, before you ask the question.
Yeah, look, basically, when I look at it, it's basically giving it's identifying who the grant went to and the quantum of funds. It's not providing me as an Alderman with any sense of the categorisation within that broad list. I can't immediately dig out to say that 60% of these grants are going to sporting organisations or some other concern. Is there a way that we could elegantly perhaps get some categorisation happening with that so that we kind of know where this type of grants are going?
Through you, Mr Mayor, look, that's something we can look at certainly for consideration for next year's annual report, is to just give a very brief summary as to the purpose or rationale for the benefit or grant.
There's a lot of individual names there, but I have no idea what.
We can certainly look at adding another column to that.
It could just be like a letter or something that goes against.
Are there any other questions? Alderman McFarlane.
Just a clarification. I was just thinking of the Auditor General having the capacity to make changes, and I just wondered if you could clarify for us again, what was the amount of the change by the Auditor General to the Eastlands complex?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I think you're referring to the Valuer General.
Oh, sorry.
And the quantum of that,
Thank you for that.
amendment, that was actually undertaken through the court system. It was secured through the Valuer General, and I believe it was a mediated outcome. That was in the order of $10 million on the capital value.
No further questions. The motion is that we receive the Corporate Treasurer's report. All those in favour? Carried unanimously. There are no further items on notice at 7, 8 and 9, so question 10, questions without notice. Mr Figg. Can we go there, please?
Total grants came to receive by council came to about 7,600.
Bala, are you able to take that question, please? Mr Van der Heck, could you just check Mr Figg's microphone is operating correctly, please? Might lift it up a bit.
It's not a red. Oh, right. Your microphone, if I may, Alderman Jones, for the purpose of the record. Page 48 is that's the cash flow statement. So that's a receipt of cash actually received into the bank account. There's a specific note on grants received on page 58 of the financial statements. That totals 7.67.
Which part?
Page 58.
Yes.
Note number 5, headed grants.
Yes.
So that's grants received on an accounting basis.
Yeah, that's accurate. Okay, that explains it once. Thank you. On council expenditure, I've had, which is available to the community, a printout of expenses and allowances for aldermen, and I've noticed that the expenses for one of the aldermen is 10,000, nearly 10,100. Could you explain that, please? It's on page 84, I think, Appendix A. That's what I've got in front of me, but that may be out of something else.
Eric, I don't have a breakdown of that to hand. It's certainly disclosed in the quarterly reports.
Take that one on notice, thank you.
Quite happy to take that on notice, Mr. Figg.
Is the council, I've noticed that on your website you list what the aldermen representing council on. Could you tell me whether the Australian Coastal Council Association has a representative on it, please, from council?
Paul.
Through Mr. Mayor, yes, council does have a representative who was elected to the position. That's Alderman Bonberto.
Okay. Looking at the council website, that's not listed.
Well, it is only a appointment within the last 12 months. We'll follow that one up.
Thank you. So I presume some of those expenses might have been related to travel interstate to attend that.
I'd have to, again, just to follow up on Mr. Barter's response earlier, I'd have to take that on notice, but
Okay.
it may be.
Mr. Figg, I do need to remind you that in the rules that in asking questions in this capacity that it's not appropriate to make any personal reflection on any alderman, council, employee or member of the public.
Whatsoever, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Figg. I just want to make that clear.
I'm quite aware of that. You've made that quite clear previously. A bit of concern is that the agenda for the meeting tonight wasn't on the website. I understand that it's responsibility of council to post that at least 4 days prior. Could you explain why that wasn't on there until 2 o'clock this afternoon?
Yeah, it's not, it wasn't on, it was an oversight, but it was advertised in accordance with the rules and was available here at the office, but was an oversight in not posting it on the website until it was brought to our attention.
Right, mate. Thank you. All right. The other question is, I'm a bit confused what council's vision and mission is. The annual report doesn't tell you because it's got ... So does this mean that it's changeable, or what is our vision statement for Clarence Council? Completed vision statement.
Okay, it is as printed in the annual report.
Would you like to read that because it's printed?
Yes, I'm happy to read it.
Yeah.
Clarence, diverse communities working together for a vibrant, prosperous and sustainable city. And the mission, to represent the people of Clarence by providing leadership programs, services and facilities to advance the quality of life in Clarence.
Right. It does have ... which usually is an indicator that there are other words there that are missing. But anyway, you ask the question. Yeah, thank you. I commend council for recording the meetings and also allowing the members of the public to see those recordings. I think that that helps with a healthy, accountable council, and it's long been something that the members of the public have been trying for, which is accountability. So I congratulate you on that. I have got a problem though. When I asked to view the tape, I was told that the lawyer had to see it first. Does this indicate that the tapes are being edited? And if they're not, why does the lawyer have to see it first? Through you, Mr Mayor, it's not necessarily in all instances that the lawyer has to see it first, but the version that we publish on the web is an edited version, and that is done by virtue of a requirement to ensure that the material being broadcast is not in any way, dare I say, actionable or impugning anyone's character or anything of such nature. So we choose quite correctly to edit the public version. It is, however, we do retain an unedited version which can be viewed, and indeed has been, I think, reviewed by yourself on at least one occasion, and that is an unedited version.
Thank you for the clarification on that, because I was told that I couldn't see it, and then I pushed and finally got it. I noticed that the council is a corporation. Under the corporations law, it is, I don't know if you realise this, but minutes of the meeting, and in this case the recording of the meeting, are legal documents. Therefore, that's why the question was raised and the concern was raised about them being edited.
So the question is, Mr Fick?
The question is that it's a legal document, whether it be taped or typed, and I'm concerned that it is being edited.
Look, I think the answer to this is quite clear.
That's fine.
Through Mr Mayor, the answer to that is that the council is not subject to the Corporations Act.
But secondly, I think we have a duty of care to ensure that actionable material is not put on our website, and the unedited version is available to members of the public on request.
Okay.
Do you have any more questions, Mr
Yes,
Fick?
I do. As Council General Manager, you're to keep records of all the meeting which we've just discussed, assets and liabilities which we've just discussed. One of the questions I had was on, in a freedom of information or right to information, was on legal expenditure. The reason I raised that was not to find out how much your lawyer was paid, which was one of the answers I got in your correspondence. I'm not concerned with the amount of money an individual gets paid, but I am concerned, and so others, on the amount of money spent by council in legal actions. I did a quick search tonight before I came in. There's 260 cases here that Clarence Council was involved in. Can you tell me how much you've spent in the last 12 months in legal actions, and how much you project in your budget for legal costs, total?
Through you, Mr Mayor, I'd have to take that question on notice. I can't provide you with that answer tonight. Some of the information you're asking in respect of that, I would advise you that would need to be sought under a right to information request.
Which I've done.
You've done a right to information request, and I believe we've responded to it in accordance with in response to specific questions asked.
Well, I'm asking the account side of things now, not a right to information. I'm asking for the total amount spent in the last...
Yeah, we understood that. The question is on notice.
And I'm asking if you're going to answer that.
Yeah, the question is on notice.
Excuse me, sir.
Look, what's the question?
The question is, are you going to answer it? I was told that the right to information I've already been answered. Some of the information was withheld. I'd like the total amount. Is it going to be answered?
We will answer the question that you've asked through the right to information question. We'll answer the question you put tonight in regard to what I think is a reasonable response. Whether you think it's a reasonable response is a matter then for you to pursue. But I will respond as well as I can in respect of the information that you have asked this evening.
Council are to provide for the health, safety and welfare of the community, to represent the interests of the community, and to provide for the peace, order and good governance of the Municipal Council. You are also accountable to the general public, the ratepayer, us.
But what's the question, Mr Fick?
If you don't mind, I am asking it.
Well, please put it.
Thank you. As I've just said, these are your own code of conduct and regulations under the Act that you are incorporated under. Therefore, as a Treasury question, not a right to information question, I'm asking again, and I demand, as a member of the public and a ratepayer, to be told what the total costs of legal expenses are and what your budget is for the 12 months.
Through you,
If you can't give that, I would like the reason now.
through you, Mr Mayor, I have indicated that I will take that question on notice and I will respond to it in due course.
Well, in that case, no more questions.
Thank you, Mr Figg. Any other members of the public got any questions? In that case, I declare the annual general meeting for 2015 closed. Thank you.